Australians have a proven record of distinguished service in developing countries. Each year, hundreds of people go to many countries, often for years, and do remarkable work. One of the works of the MSC Mission Office is to provide clean water to people all over the world. In doing so, we are motivated by the words of Jesus when he said that if we give as much as a cup of water in his name, it will not go without its reward. In this way, we strive to share with others a common vision and mission for justice, peace, and integrity of all creation. Also, we recall the cry of Christ on the cross, "I thirst." These were the words of a thirsty person and came from deep within his sacred heart. His thirst was not simply for water, but especially the eternal thirst of our Creator God, who told St. Margaret Mary Alacoque, "Look at my heart, which loves so much and is loved so little in return." Welcome to Mission Alive. My name's Sean Donovan from the MSC Mission Office. I thought this morning I'd share with you a little bit of how the MSC Mission Office functions, how we work. We're not organisationally, as far as the Mission Office is concerned, a large organisation. We work with very few overheads. And so that's a good thing. In Sydney, we have no full-time staff at the office. Probably our person who's there the most is our data entry person, Amanda, who looks after all the donors. And probably if you've called the office at some stage or left a message, Amanda probably has got back to you. So she's the one who keeps everything running on a day-to-day basis. I'm there intermittently, Roger's there intermittently. We have our accountant who comes in for a couple of hours once a week. We have some other volunteers who come in to help out with things such as entering projects. So Michael's very good, looks after all our project data entry. We have another chap who helps with our articles into the Catholic papers, and then other volunteers who help with things like stamps and putting envelopes together so that we can send them out and things of this nature. So we don't have a big overhead in Sydney. We have a board that meets every 2 months. The board comprises both MSC and lay people. It's chaired by the superior of the Australian MSC. And every 2 months, that board gets together to oversee what's happening in the office and to allocate the funds to projects. Overseas, we have a mission office with a board in a number of locations. So these are local mission offices in their own area. We have that in the Pacific, Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, Philippines, India, Vietnam, and the OAF, which is the French-speaking African Union. And those places also have no full-time staff. We rely on a local director, and they put around themselves a board from lay people and MSC people and OLSH sisters and so forth, and MSC sisters. And then they do the same thing as we do. So they look at projects locally and determine what ones either to fund locally or to put forward to us for funding. And then outside of those areas where we have a board, and indeed even in those areas where we have a board, the MSC and related sister organisations, such as the Daughters of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart and the MSC Sisters, and in certain local areas, there might be other local sister groups. Those people are located everywhere across the globe. I think probably only Antarctica might be the only place that we don't have people on the ground as either MSC or one of the sister organisations. So where we operate and where we do our projects are where we actually have people on the ground that we can talk to, and also this means that the funding goes directly to the people. So, for example, somebody in, say, the Pacific wants to do a project. They are doing that project where they are. It's not a fly in, fly out scenario. It's they are on the ground. They know what's happening on the ground. They know what the need is, and it's the direct to those people there. So when we travel to visit projects, we stay with them. We stay with the people where they are. And again, that means it's lower overhead. So Roger's been in India this past couple of weeks. So he's been staying with our people there. Means we don't have to pay for accommodation and those sort of things. We do, when we travel, give them some money to assist with the costs of our being there, feeding us and things of this nature, and obviously transport and so forth. So we don't expect the local people to be pulling out of their pocket to pay for us to be there, but that's a lot cheaper than staying at hotels and motels and this sort of thing. So the mission office, we have very low overheads. We work pretty much directly with the people who are receiving projects. Our requirements for projects are very light as well. A lot of the places where we do projects, people are illiterate, and or they might be literate, but they don't necessarily have the capacity to fill out long, arduous reports. Some we've had to fill out some for other funding organisations, particularly the European ones. They're like, I have no idea who they think is going to fill these things out, but you need a degree to be able to complete them. So those sorts of things are unnecessary for the nature of the projects that we do. We focus largely on small projects of immediate benefit that can be done quickly, implemented quickly, have an immediate benefit to people where they are. Where we do larger projects, for example, the school buildings that occasionally we do with a large bequest or will that comes in, those will have a little bit more detailed work put into them, typically by myself. And so clearly, if it's a bigger project, some hundreds of thousands of dollars, then they will be commensurately controlled. But for small projects, which are typically $10,000 or less, our expectations of the people are that they will provide a report, a short report of the project, the photographs of the project in progress and completed. So, for example, if it's water tanks, it would be a photograph of the base being made by the local people, and then the tank on the base, and then it sort of in operation with water coming out of the tap. So those photographs, the receipts, obviously copies of the receipts. Again, that's an interesting thing in some places where they don't actually, very remote locations, and they sort of don't have receipts in a lot of cases for those. But we get what we can in those situations. And certainly things like water tanks have to be bought from larger companies, so they will provide the receipts. And then the final thing is a letter of thanks from the community. So that's typically like the lead person in the community might write a letter of thanks, and they would have a photograph of the community together with what they've received, so that we know that people are receiving what we're funding. And then again, as I said, when we travel, we go and we visit the places, and we see that those things are there, that they're in use, and that people know that if they have further requirements, that they can come to us again. We don't tend to do another project unless a previous project's completed. So If somebody's requesting a bore well, for example, you say fine, put your bore well in, and they might come and say, oh, we'd like another bore well. You say, well, if you acquitted, that's the term we call the report. Have you acquitted the previous one? We look on our file. If they have not acquitted the previous one, we say, well, you'll need to send us your report for that project before we can fund another project. And so that's how that process works. So we're operating globally across the world. MSC and the sisters are in most countries in the world, from South America, the Pacific, Asia, Africa, throughout Europe, obviously, as well, and Eastern Europe. So that's Mission Alive for today. Thank you for joining me. Roger will start his flights back sometime today, I think. So she'll be back with us on Monday. Thank you for joining me, and have a great weekend.